Hi friends, in our last session we have seen our chapter Design of Spindle Splits. In today's session we are going to see Dynamics of Machine Tools. This is Fazan Kagdi and I welcome you all to our lecture series of Machine Tool Design. So let's see the first topic, Machine Tool Elastic System. Now, what is the main aim of designing a machine tool whenever we need to carry out a certain machining operations? So we would say that it mainly depends on the cutting processes, and this cutting process can take place only if it satisfies the two requirements. That is, first, there should be a prime mover, that is electric motor, which provides a sufficient energy for a desired operation, that is going to provide a mechanical power. We're going to give electricity, and in return a rotational motion can be obtained from a motor which we can supply to our machine tool. And second, the machine tool has a provision for executing the relative motion, that is primary cutting motion, right, feed motions and auxiliary motions. Okay, it should have a provision for these motions, that is of cutting tool and workpiece, which are essential for performing a particular operations. Now, we can also say that a cutting force deflects the machine tool, right? And therefore, for the purpose of dynamic analysis, the machine tool can be looked upon as an elastic system, which means we can say a machine tool as an elastic system. Why? Because various cutting forces are going to be exerted. You can see in our block diagram, Ft is the force which is exerted on an elastic system. Now, the cutting processes and the processes in a motor along with the frictional processes are known as a working process. Remember, cutting process, the process which is going inside the motor, you can see it is shown in the block diagram, and a friction process are all going to contribute as a working process. Now, the working process in a machine tool elastic system will constitute or will form a closed loop system. So this entire, you can see all the three processes along with the elastic system, that is our machine tool, is going to contribute as a closed loop system. Okay. Now the validity of interaction loops between elastic system and a working process can be justified by following considerations. So we are going to see that. Now over here you can see for every input parameter we are going to provide to the machine tool, there is an output parameter which is y1. Even for a frictional process, F is the input parameter to the elastic system, that is the frictional resistance, and the output, that is deflection, y2 is going to take place because of that, right? Now all these are interrelated to each other and forms a closed loop. Okay. Now the cutting force deflects the elastic system, and this deflection changes the position between cutting tool and a workpiece. Okay, position are going to be changed, which is going to result in a undeformed chip thicknesses. Now the change in undeformed chip thicknesses in its turn affects the value of a cutting force. Second important point which we need to consider, the friction force component, which does not coincide with the axis of a lead screw of a machine, results in tilting the carriage. Okay, now as a carriage will tilt, the friction force on a side faces of a slide base changes, and in its turn this change of a friction force on a side faces induces a change in deformation due to tilting of the carriage. Now, the third most important point is a change in speed affects the torque of the electric motor, especially in motors having a soft dropping torque RPM characteristic. The change in torque again results in change in the speed of the motion. Is acted upon by the two types of parameters, that is Ft, which is acting on a machine tool elastic system, and second deflections, that is y1t, y2t, y33 acting on a working processes. The nature and significance of these parameters is explained in a section dealing with a forced vibration. So two features of a closed system are of a great practical significance. So these are what? So first point, the interaction between the working processes and elastic systems are simple. That is, an action of one of the working process on elastic system induces a reverse action of a nature which is completely accounted for by a single closed loop. This feature simplifies the procedure of studying the dynamic behavior of the closed loop system, as the latter can be transformed into an open loop system by disconnecting one of the loops. Second most important point is the working processes do not interact directly. a change in one of the working processes can affect the other working processes only through the elastic system. Okay, this features enables a multiple loop system to be transformed into a single loop system by introducing the concept of equivalent elements. Now you can see the equivalent diagram is shown, that is a block diagram of a simplified single loop machining system. So the multiple loop system is difficult to analyze, which we have seen in a previous slide, right? All the processes were involved, and therefore for studying vibration problem connected with the cutting processes, the multiple loop system which is shown in our previous figure has to be replaced by a simple loop system which is shown in this diagram. You can see 6.2. By considering the elastic system, processes in a motor and frictional processes is an equivalent elastic system, that is called EES. Equivalent elastic system, all the three are included in one. And this equivalent elastic system represents a machine tool in which motor is running and the appropriate motions between the workpiece and a cutting tool are being executed without actual machining. In other words, we can say that it represents an ideal running machine. Now over here a question is rising, that is the variation of undeformed chip thickness, or we can say a cutting force, will result in increasing level of vibration leading to a vibratory state known as chatter, or it will increase a chance of variation that will gradually decrease and ultimately die away the vibration. So this is the most important question. Now the answer is that it will depend upon the dynamic stability of the closed loop system. Okay, now let us see, we need to see a degree of freedom. So first is a single degree of freedom elastic system. An elastic system simplified to a single degree of freedom vibratory system can be considered as a spring mass dashpot arrangement and represented by the following equation, which you have studied in your subject dynamics of machinery, right? A vibratory system consists of three main elements: spring, mass, and we would say damper, right? That is dashpot. Okay, so according to that, the equation will become my double dash, that is m d2y by dt square plus dy by dt plus ky is equal to p. So we know this equation, we are very much familiar how we have obtained this equation in our subject of vibration, right? Mechanical vibrations that we have seen in our dynamics of machinery. So over here, y is a vibration coordinate, m is a mass of a vibrating system, h is a damping coefficient of a system, and k is a stiffness of a system. So by introducing an operator, let's say small p is equal to d by dt, equation 6.8 can be modified. So what we have done, we have basically taken y common out and we have just substituted a value of d by dt. So in our first case, that is d2y by dt square, the equation will become mp square, right? Because it is d2 by dt square. So mp square plus hp plus k. Okay, so I hope that you are clear with this. Now in the next step, you can clearly see it is written m by k p square plus h by kp plus 1 into y, where we have divided the next previous equation by k on both the sides, right? That is our stiffness of a system. Now upon substituting m by k is equal to t1 square and h by k is equal to t2, we can write this equation as wp is equal to 1 by k upon t1 square p square plus t2p plus 1. And finally we can write this equation as WP is equal to CEES, which means equivalent elastic system. Now what is C? So we would say it is inverse of stiffness, which means it is a compliance. So equivalent elastic system compliance represented by CEES upon T1 square P square plus T2P plus 1. Now in above equation, T1 is equal to under root M by K, which can be written as 1 upon omega n, where omega n is what? So it is a circular natural frequency of a vibratory system, and it represents the inertial time constant. Okay, 1 by omega n represents inertial time constant. Now it may be recalled that omega n is related to natural frequency fn, right? By expression omega equals to 2 pi f, we know that. And h by k is equal to pi lambda by pi into t1, which represents the time constant of a damping. Now lambda being a logarithmic decrement of a free vibration of a system. Okay, so that we need to keep in mind. Now next is the polar plot dynamic characteristic of a system is obtained by putting P is equal to I omega in our previous equation 6.10 and varying omega from 0 to infinity. So in actual practice, however, omega is varied in a limited range which is of a practical interest and significance. The polar plot of a single degree of freedom system you can see is shown in a diagram. Okay. Now the reader's attention is drawn due to the following important features of this polar plot. Okay, so this is our equivalent dynamic system where you can see a damper, spring and mass arrangement has been shown and a force is exerted on this system. On the x-axis, which you can see mm per kg force is equal to the static compliance of a system. Second, the variation of the output parameter, that is displacement, lags behind the variation of the input parameter, that is cutting force. Now this is reflected in a fact that as the frequency increases, successive points of the polar plot are obtained by a clockwise movement from the positive RE axis. Now it is noteworthy that the phase lag increases in a magnitude with increase in a frequency. So at the natural frequency of a system, the phase difference between the input and output parameter is how much? So it's 90 degrees. And therefore the natural frequency of a system corresponds to the frequency of a point of intersection of a polar plot with the negative imaginary axis that is shown vertically, that is y-axis. Now next point is the radius vector is maximum at a resonance and it diminishes to 0 as the frequency tends to infinity. Now it may be noted that at no point does the polar plot intersect the RE axis. Okay. Now next we need to see many degree of freedom system in normal coordinates. So you can see a three equivalent elastic systems has been shown: EES1, EES2 and EES3. Now the normal coordinates of a complex and many degree of freedom vibratory system are such coordinates that vibration in one coordinate does not affect the vibration in the other coordinate. Such a system having a n degrees of freedom can be represented by a set of n independent equation of motions. So you can see three equations of motions. Now in our case there are three elastic systems, so three equations of motions can be. Now as many elastic systems would be there, we can make n number of equations, right? So m1y plus h1y plus k1y is equal to r1p. Similarly r2y plus h2y plus k2y is equal to r2p, and so on we can say, where y1, y2 and up to yn are the normal coordinates. M1, M2 and Mn are what? So mass of the elastic system along the normal coordinates. H1, H2 up to Hn are what? So these are the damping coefficients, right? So it's going to absorb the vibration. So of the elastic system along the normal coordinates. Now K1, K2 are the stiffness, that is resistance to deformation along the normal coordinates, and P is a generalized force which is going to be exerted on a system, right? R1, R2, Rn are what? So are the reduced coefficient of a generalized force along the normal coordinates. Now the complex system described by n normal coordinates may be represented as a system of n parallel elements. This is shown in our figure 6.11. Now the total displacement we need to find out of this system. So how we can do that? So it is equal to y1 plus y2 plus y3 up to yn. Now since this set of equations consists of n independent equations, each equation can be solved separately to yield a total of n transfer functions and consequently n polar plots. The resultant transfer function of a system is obtained as a sum of n transfer functions. Now what is that? So Wp is equal to W1p plus W2p up to Wnp, and a resultant polar plot is obtained as a vector sum of n polar plots. The method of vectorial graphic summation of polar plots is illustrated in our figure 6.12. That is a graphic method of vector summation of two polar plots. Now, incidentally, figure 6.12 represents the polar plot of a 2 degree of freedom system. It is evident that the plot consists of two almost circular loops. The point at which the radius vector is maximum in each of the loops gives the natural frequency of the corresponding normal mode of vibration. So by a similar logic, it is difficult to visualize that the polar plot of a system described by normal coordinates will consist of n loops. It may be emphasized again that if a complex complex vibratory system can be described through a normal coordinates. Its polar plot does not intersect the RE axis and it tends towards 0 as the frequency tends to infinity. So in today's okay guys, so in today's session we are completing with this. Thank you all.